Well, there you are, Ghoulies, and here we are once again. I'm joined with Lilith Lovecraft, and we have Kevin Mathewson and Kyle Flood, both seeking aldermanic seats, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Kevin, we'll start with you. What prompted you to reemerge on the scene?
Well, it was frustrating, as you can imagine. I lost by about 12 votes back in 2014, and I'm eager to get back in there. I think our district is going unrepresented, and it's frustrating to a lot of us, me and my neighbors, so I'm going to give it another shot, and I feel confident this time, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's got to be interesting to get out there and get involved, and that's what too many people don't spend the time getting involved or attending council meetings, and then they freak out in the 0 hour when something's about to get passed or whatnot.
Absolutely.
But, there's definitely some rough roads though in the old neighborhood.
Absolutely. The roads are in terrible shape. The rest of the infrastructure is in terrible shape. Thank God we're not getting the $15 million trolley, that's for sure.
That's sort of that went down like a Led Zeppelin real quick. Everybody was on board, and then it did. It became sort of the scapegoat though for the angry Kenoshan. Like it's almost in a very Trump kind of way. I mean, you had to you had to get a lifeboat and jump off that ship because it was just. And then maybe that's not necessarily anyone's to blame or whatnot, but I just thought now from a perspective of luring in the people from the colleges that wouldn't have maybe setting up a bus route and seeing if there's interest in the first place for them to come downtown, which is a majority of the entertainment places are over 21, and most college students would be only able to go in there by the time they're in their fourth year of college, maybe they'd be that age. So would that really work out,
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at the trolley support is there's three groups of people. People that hated the trolley, no matter where it went, what it did, they hated it, no, vote no. Then you had the group in between that said, well, maybe if it went somewhere good, Carthage College, Uptown, God willing, the casino, somewhere useful where there's a people transporter that would get used. And the third group of people that says, I love the trolley, I don't care where it goes, vote yes, yes, yes. Well, that sinking ship you talked about went down pretty quickly, but there wasn't enough life preservers for all the aldermen. And a couple of aldermen, including mine, still held on to hope, even though the We Energies quote came high, and that was $15.5 million. My alderman, Kurt Wicklund, and another alderman or two still tried to hang on to that iceberg, and they went down with the ship, and it's unfortunate. So those two districts got unheard.
Well, yeah, it was interesting to watch that all go down, and I guess it's a shame in a way. I mean, I suppose that you could blame the crash of 2007, 2008, and if that had any effect on what might have moved forward for Kenosha. Mm-hmm. However you feel on the casino deal, if you were for or against that. Were you for or against that?
I was for the casino.
You were for the casino.
It would have brought a lot of new jobs. That water park hotel looked kind of cool because I know we could drag the kids over there for a weekend.
I just thought the thing that when it got down to the 0 hour and it came to the point where they were willing to give $250 million to Milwaukee for the stadium, and it still got turned down. And now the public, of course, we're on the hook now for that stadium.
Right.
But I was like, couldn't we got that $250 million could have done for downtown Kenosha?
Yes.
And I mean, an investment in the Kenosha Theater, perhaps, or an entertainment venue. I'm a big proponent of the Kenosha Theater.
As am I. Yep.
I want to see that happen. Now, I understand the Genesee, though, is surviving mainly because of Uline or that supports them, So they got a pretty good business model for the Kenosha, but that seems to me like more, if we can make downtown Kenosha more like the Wisconsin Dells and touristy a little bit.
Sure.
Because I don't know if we're going to lure some of the same, JCPenney's isn't going to come back, but that's another district completely, and that seems to have been a disaster with aldermen for the past 4 years downtown.
Yep.
They get in, and then they end up not wanting the job, I think. They get into it, and they don't want the job, and then, of course, the downtown turns on them, too. So.
Sure, and that's a very active district, including the downtown, and I think it's a very involving district to be the alderman. So I think
but I mean, an alderman's job is interesting anyway because first off, you get elected by the people that are in your district, yet you go on to make decisions that are involve the whole city.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize is our biggest focus is on our district itself, but all 17 of us are making decisions for the entire city. So just because you might not live in a district, getting involved is important citywide.
Well, it's just in politics in general. I
Sure.
think people should pay more attention to what's going on, and so you're running again. That's the 8th, of course.
Yep, 8th district.
I should know. The castle's in the 8th.
Yes, I was your alderman for a couple years, and I think I did a good job every time you had a complaint about a pothole or something. We didn't get the official Dr. D mascot for the city, but that's on order. So
Is that on order? Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. You didn't have any trouble with the moat on the way in.
no, I'm a good swimmer.
All right, now Kyle, you're running for which?
Third district.
Third district. Yep.
Alderman. Yep.
Okay, and what prompted you to? Well, you were a school board. You were elected school board. How old were you when you were elected?
I
school
was
board?
18 years old. I had just graduated high school.
That's pretty amazing to be able to get elected into office. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So now, what made you figure? Well, now you want to go after alderman? What?
Well, I never really planned on running for re-election to the school board. I ran to be that young, fresh voice that had just graduated high school. And so as my term was coming to an end, I sort of looked towards the city and I saw a lot of change coming. New police chief, new mayor, maybe potentially new council. And I think that I've accomplished a lot. I accomplished most of what I said I would on the school board, and I hope to bring that same success to the city council.
Just fresh ideas.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, this is an interesting dynamic. Now, Kevin, you never were on? No, you were not on council in the time of John Anaramian.
I was not. But with all the folks that I've spoken to, I hear he's a good leader. He'll help with this perceived divide in the council, and I'm optimistic. I think we're at a pivotal point in the city, and with a fresh new mayor and some new aldermen, I think we have a lot of potential. The city itself has a lot of potential, and once we get good leaders to kind of harness that potential, I think we're going to be in a good position in the future.
A lot of our visitors from like one of the guys that he moved here for the Days of the Dead convention had mentioned how they see so much potential in Kenosha.
Sure.
And that the Kenoshans kind of don't see. So, but there's been a lot. I mean, there's just been too many years of too many promises for so long that
Sure.
the public is, the public is again like angered, like the way was feeding like something like the Trump campaign right now. You
Sure.
know. And it doesn't mean they're informed. It just means they're angry. So if they get, the spokesman for that anger, I suppose that's where somebody can, move it along.
And that's clearly visible with the whole. I hate to go back to the trolley, but the referendum. 7,000 people signed a petition demanding that the city council either A, stop the streetcar expansion, forget it, or B, put it on the ballot for a non-binding referendum. And we all know what that means is it doesn't matter how the people vote, the city council can still make their own determination.
So what's the point then?
So,
why not have a binding referendum?
Well, I understand that thought. However, all it is the opinion of the voters. So the voters would have been sending a very clear opinion, whether they're for or against, and I think most of us would have guessed 80-90% against. And whenever you have a politician that says, I don't care what you think, I know what's best for the neighborhood more than you do, I think that's when you say it's time to throw them out. If they drop the buck with such a small issue, what are they doing with the bigger issue?
Well, the trolley issue with it being downtown, many of the businesses down there did not want that there.
Right.
They were vehemently opposed.
Library Park, that beautiful area, a lot of the people that have a strong heritage in Patterson, Kenosha, they didn't want all those wires and noise.
I don't know if it, back in the day when they did have the trolleys on the wires, if it ever did run through Library Park or not.
Right, it did not.
I mean, but they were all over town.
Sure.
I guess the story is that the thing would come unhitched in snowstorms, and
Sure.
kids wouldn't get a proper excuse notice
And
for being late.
those events down there that we're missing out, like Food Folks and Spokes, it's just a shame. And if I would have been a resident of Library Park at the time, I would have been a little bit more upset than I was.
There's a couple, one of the items of downtown is this open intoxicant idea where you could go bar to bar with drinks. Go ahead.
I don't want to.
I dare you. Now, I don't know if I'm getting that, because I'm hearing a lot of people that actually are residents downtown are putting up with enough noise in the bar districts that they should be responsible. Okay, it's 2:30. Get in your car and go home. Don't be screaming out on the street until 4 a.m.
Sure.
4 a.m. And that's one of the things that's happening. But this idea of, all right, I can bring this drink to this place and whatnot, you're just going to, these people are going to put 6-packs in their cars and they're going to refill on the way and they're going to walk into the bars without spending as much money. That's
Yeah, and that could be one of the
That's how
unintended
drinkers
consequences.
think,
you know, these things have kind of these consequences that are unintended, like the no smoking that the state passed. For example, I personally like it because I'm a non-smoker and I like being in a place where you don't have to smell the smoke. However, what that did, that brought those smokers out to the front of the bar in front or out back, so then they're being loud and the neighbors complain.
Yeah.
So there's certainly unintended consequences in anything you do, but I thought that sounded like something that we could give it a chance. And just like with everything, you have people that will take advantage of a change like that and do it responsibly, and unfortunately you got the people that, well, like you said, will go crazy and pound them back in their cars or whatever.
Well, they seem to think they're in New Orleans down on
Sure,
50th
sure.
and 7th Avenue there, but no, I'm not knocking it. I mean, I like to have a good time.
Yeah,
too,
I don't.
but I mean, some of the
Sure.
stuff that I'm seeing now is like, even in my wildest days, I have more respect, and I think generally we're seeing a population that has less respect for each other, and I think that's definitely evident in driving habits right now.
Sure.
And it's well, what are you going to do? I guess it just changes one thing for another. I mean, we toughen drinking driving laws, okay, and so maybe we gained a little bit and we saved a percentage of people, and then Mother Nature just comes along with the cell phone and creates
Sure.
sober people that are inattentive. So it's just
There's
things like
studies
that.
out there that say you're worse off driving
Texting and driving.
while you're texting than if you were
yeah.
hammered.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely a challenge. And
Yeah.
now at the state level, it's illegal, but I think it's kind of hard for the police to enforce because people have been good at holding their phones down while they're texting and not being really in view.
They'll figure out some way to
Sure.
make that happen without.
Me, I do where I
don't
talk
know.
to my watch. Text Nikki, I'm going to be late for dinner, and then
Well, it's even that. It's just even eating a burrito in the car,
Sure.
I mean,
or
they're in-
makeup.
Yeah.
You do your makeup in the car, or do you wait till you get here?
Only when the car's parked. What do you mean makeup? Now, Tasha, I'd like to give you a voice, being that you're a younger Kenoshan. Do you have any particular things like that you would really like to see happen here?
Well, going back to what you were talking about with the alcohol, I've been paying a lot of attention actually to that issue because being young, I'm a college student, I'm not of drinking age. I go downtown a lot on Friday evenings, Saturday evenings, and I walk around downtown. So I have an issue with the open carry for the fact that I'm already having people from bars harassing me. I have drunk people coming up to me. I see drunk people coming up to girls that are 13, 14 years old and bothering them. So giving them the opportunity to go from bar to bar with open beverage just doesn't seem safe to me. It makes me worry about going downtown as a young female. And I think that's something that needs to be considered, is that the downtown isn't just an adult area. There are all the bars, there's all the adult entertainment, but a lot of the teens also go downtown for entertainment and for events and for
There needs to be more
concerts.
stuff, I think, for the teens down there
Oh,
too,
definitely.
as well. I mean, or just more of a family kind of, touristy thing. I always loved the old strip of the Wisconsin Dells.
Mm-hmm.
You had your haunted houses. I would love to have a haunted, attraction 24/7 downtown, like a wax museum kind of a thing. Now, I would love to do that. That would really be something I'd like to do, And I just think things like that would be a good way to fill some of these spaces where, what are you going to fill them with? I mean, the Orpheum was a theater. The Leader Store was a theater. That building by Dale's Jewelers, that was a theater too. I mean, that was back. So they're old movie houses, and what's going to fill something like you got the J.C. Penney building, which could be, why can't Harbor Market get that
Right.
for their indoor facility?
And these are a lot of good discussions I look forward to having in the next couple years with we're gonna have a new mayor, okay? We're gonna have some new council people, like Kai was saying, a new police chief,
Right.
possibly a new fire chief one of these years, and just a big change in leadership. We need to start having these discussions on how we can harness the potential, what can go where, Natasha was commenting on some of the shenanigans downtown. there's a couple bars downtown and other places that are getting in hot water because they're serving minors. They're letting people loiter
I'm
after
very
hours.
aware that they're serving
So I
minors.
think what Natasha's trying to say is if we want to even have the discussion,
Confession.
Not a confession, but I've been to a few that are.
Well, you're just
very willing to serve
chomping
minors.
at the bit on that.
I'm very
on the
perplexed.
serum there.
I'm perplexed by the vial.
And if I could jump on that too, because when I first heard about the entertainment ordinance, I really liked the idea because my whole thing has always been, Kenosha should be a college town. We have all these colleges, doesn't feel like a college town, but you're absolutely right. There's still a lot of people who are under 21, a lot of young girls who are walking around, and what are we going to do to make sure it's still safe out there for them? I know UW Parkside has those little buttons that set off alarms. Maybe if we're gonna start looking at an entertainment ordinance, we have to consider that too.
Well, you're going to have to have the police.
everything.
You're going to have some police or security or something. Now, I know of another woman that's been completely harassed downtown. This has been going on for, she has to live there, and she basically lived there long before some of those places were even drinking establishments, even before the port was a bar,
Sure.
So, there is an issue there with people bothering people, and I understand it's tough. What are you going to do? And they'll say, well, why don't you move? What are you living in that district for? But circumstances might, and ownership of the building itself might put you, in that position. So I'm just putting that out there for
Sure.
myself. For myself, I don't go out as much as I used to. I just don't. My band's playing somewhere, then I'm out. You know what I mean? That's how I do that. Because I don't know, just past that point.
Yeah, I
And
hear
at the
it.
ripe old age of 540,
I hear you. My new motto is
tapering off.
going to bed early is the new sleeping in. That's the way I like to look at it.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm waking up at 2:30 in the morning. I don't know what's wrong with me. You get on YouTube and read all the conspiracy theories.
All right.
Not read, but watch.
Yep.
Got any favorites in that department, just for a fun conversation?
For YouTube?
Yeah, for 9/11, moon bases.
Oh man,
Colonization of Mars.
Although I don't believe all the conspiracy theories, I definitely enjoy watching those YouTube specials where they piece together some of that information that just you look at it and you say that doesn't look right, and,
You don't-
and that's interesting. I love watching documentaries, and my kids watch YouTube every day, all day. 'cause
Some
they
of
got
it's
the
more
kids show.
fascinating. Sometimes I think the more far-fetched it is, the more intriguing it is.
I like to look at that comparison between the Abraham Lincoln assassination and JFK assassination. That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's like a whole numerology
Right.
issue. Yeah, and you got to wonder about those sorts of things, and of course, always the stories of the Illuminati, and then, but there's been. There's what this French thing is. I don't know if I'm going to go there.
You know what Abraham Lincoln tweeted the night of his death, right?
I didn't know he could tweet anything.
He said, "The wife's making me go to the theater. Someone come shoot me."
Oh, wow. That's a rough one. And now another. Okay, now back to that downtown, and Rhonda Jenkins. You know her?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting her a couple times.
And she doesn't get back to her constituents, though.
Oh, is that what you hear?
No, that's a fact.
Oh, really?
She don't get back to anybody. I've called her numerous times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, trying to help somebody out. And anyway, she's recently this must be her crowning achievement is this very confusing paraphernalia law that just came out.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I read through that a little bit, and I think we need to start worrying about the hardcore drugs like the heroin epidemic. And I know Kyle agree.
I agree.
I think when you're talking about pot or pipes or I don't think that's where we should be spending a lot of our resources.
My thought on the whole thing, and what I always thought is, the thing is sold with tobacco. If the thing is tainted with an illegal substance, now it's something illegal.
Right.
But the way that maybe the Kenosha News just did a bad review article on that, but they said that the manufacture and possession of it, the manufacturer, it's brand new. Glass blower just made it.
Sure.
So is that now illegal? Because there's a smoke shop on 27th Street and Roosevelt Road. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah,
it's right by the senior center.
It seems a little ambiguous, and some of those shops are forbidden from using certain names. You know, like this is not a bong, it's a water pipe, or this is not a bowl, it's a tobacco pipe.
And the stuff is so overpriced. I mean, you know, I mean, when I'm like looking at all this and I'm going, when did smoking weed become a career option? You know,
Yeah,
if you can't spin it up, forget it. You know,
a few of us disc golfers. You seen the new disc golf course at Lincoln Park?
Yes.
It's awesome. Okay, and a group of us went and we decided we're going to clean up the lagoon because it is absolutely filthy.
Right.
So I busted out my kayaks. A couple other buddies, neighbors in the area. We busted out our kayaks, and we pulled out 40 or 50 of the 100-gallon bags of crap from there. And you know what we found in there? We found about 8 hypodermic needles that I think one could assume that they're for heroin use. We got a heroin problem in Kenosha, and right now
we got a huge heroin problem.
There's not a lot of things really being done at the local level about it. And I think before we tackle it, we're tackling, you know, bongs and pipes. Maybe that should require a lot more of our resources.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I live right in the Uptown area, and every time, almost every morning, I can walk out my house, I can look around on the street, and I'll find one of those needles.
Oh yeah,
I
you
mean,
will.
There's one right
I mean,
there.
yeah,
and we
yeah.
desperately need a treatment center in Kenosha, and that's, you know, a lot of that's going to have to come from the county, but it's something the city and county needs to talk about.
Yeah,
because
that's really
huge.
blossomed and it turned into an ugly thing. And then, you know, getting back to this, you know, the weed or the pipes thing. I mean, we live in a country now where these other states it's legal,
Right.
And it's not. And here you're a felon, so that just doesn't sit well with me. That's not right. I know they like the activists will say that nobody ever died because of marijuana, but I'm sure someone engaged in law enforcement was shot or killed over large amounts. You know,
course.
and so how do you go back and make all that right? But now we're in this really confused situation with them. You know, and on one side it's, you know, we're talking about illegalizing these glass pipes, and then of course the social media is heralding as the cure for everything.
Sure.
So America's just confused about the subject.
I agree.
We need to get over that.
And with all this ambiguity where, you know, some states it's legal, some are not, you know, I've always said, you know, I've had, you know, friends and family members who have had struggles with alcohol, and that's a real dangerous drug.
It's extremely dangerous.
If it's
Tobacco
not used
is
responsibly,
extremely
you know, we were
dangerous.
talking earlier about responsible alcohol use, but there's a lot of people who are irresponsible with alcohol use.
I don't know if that's even possible because you become more irresponsible with every drink.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, we all know the famous saying, you know, oh, just one more.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just one more. Then it's, you know, but I don't remember it being quite as crazy as this when I was younger. Maybe I wasn't paying as much attention. Is it just that people are doing stupider stuff now while they're drinking that it's changed? I mean, the law has changed. I mean, before you'd be a slap on the wrist, or you get a ride home. Now
Yep.
you messed your life up for good. You know, I mean, so that's how that's changed through the years. Because you're like, how old are you for yours?
I'm 31.
Oh, yeah. Things have changed.
And
so
you know, it's
fast.
funny because, you know,
You were 31.
people mess
Born.
up once in a while. You know, some people get caught, you know, and get a DUI, and that's not the type of thing that you're going to say, you know, that person for the rest of their life shouldn't be able to get a job or something. But in Wisconsin, we have this culture where people are getting. I just read in the paper some guy got his 12th DUI in Green Bay. You know, it's like,
How's that happen? You know?
how does that happen? You know, how is this guy allowed to be near a car? You know, but once you learn you know, second chances are good, but 13 chances, 14 chances.
Well,
that's not
I
the
would
same.
I would think so at some point the auto industry would every car would be like it detects booze, it won't run.
Sure.
You know, unless they like the way things are working out. You know, I don't know how that's a terrible thought, but it makes you think. And that's why we've had you guys on tonight, is we want to get some of the ghoulies out there to get off the subject of the horror movies a little bit, or anything, you know, whether it's social media or whatnot, and
Sure.
and pay attention. And by you giving us the opportunity of coming on the show and talking, we get to do that, and I'd like to thank you both.
Well, thanks,
Wish you
Doctor,
luck.
for having us on.
Okay.
And just if I may, before we break, April 5th is a very, very important election. A lot of people tend to think that only the presidential elections are important, or, you know, state senate, you know, stuff like that. This is a very important election. A lot of times these local issues hit you a lot closer to home than the federal elections. April 5th, we're going to be selecting a new mayor. We're going to be selecting new aldermen. and
Board?
School board, correct, and it's going to be the primaries for president. Democrat
Yeah,
and Republican.
so that.
So this is a very important election. You're not going to want to miss. So get out there and vote. And
Bring your ID.
Bring your ID because it's required.
They go back and forth on that all the time too.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, thanks for coming on, and
Thanks for having
well,
us.
good luck.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.